Okay, so I want to welcome everybody to our annual business meeting today, Friday, June 12th, 9:30 a.m. And I'd like to call the meeting to order at 9:32. Please make a note, Allison, thank you. And I want to thank our sponsors for their generous donations for our meeting. Westchester Library System, Clancy Relocation, Event Keeper, Feel Good C2 Education, CPI, Rainbow and Gray House Publishing, and STEM Alliance Knowledge to Grow On. Thank you so much. And I'd like to approve our minutes from the last business meeting, May 2019. So you received those in your email yesterday. Can someone please make a motion for that?
This is Terry Kirshner. I make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. And I need a second.
There's a second in the chat, Elaine.
Thank you. And it's all in favor in the chat. Just please say approve. And I can't see the chat, so I'm going to assume that you all approve, and I'll have my cohorts affirm that. Thank you so much. So let me just stop sharing. Okay, so I just wanted to share some opening comments with you. I want to welcome everyone. When we left last year's DIY conference in the bucolic setting of Westchester Community College, who would have imagined I would be addressing you from a virtual stage? While WLA wanted to begin using Zoom, I don't think this is how we quite planned it. But now, of course, we are all experts, right? I want to applaud all of the amazing efforts libraries have undertaken during the COVID-19 crisis to prove that we truly are the heart of the community, which has been our theme this year. Quickly transitioning from brick and mortar to a virtual powerhouse of continuity and connectivity for our patrons, schools, and communities. Although our lives, the world, have been interrupted, library staff have risen to overcome many challenges posed by COVID-19 to make a difference in our communities, while exposing vulnerabilities and disparities like the lack of internet access and social equity. Because librarians have the pulse on their communities, you already knew the weak areas that needed remedy and identified these issues at last year's conference with the member-driven topic, social issues. Some of these comments certainly resonate today. How we relate to other people, movements, civil rights, gaining power so you have a voice. People disagree on what the world should look like. Building understanding. Work at bringing people together. Access. Housing the homeless. And my personal favorite, the library is a piece in a puzzle for solutions. So I don't know if you were here and you said that last year, but that stayed with me. This is who great library workers are. This is what great libraries do. This crisis has brought out the best in us. We are not alone. We are crossing boundaries, breaking down silos, building bridges, and reaching across aisles, learning new skills, using new tools. Working collaboratively has made us stronger, and I want to thank our library leaders, legislators, and the governor for leading the way. And by the way, the governor was invited and was sorry he couldn't be here, but said he would like to be invited to future events. He sends us his best. I especially want to recognize our local library leaders for their diligent efforts toward keeping our libraries and organizations informed with new developments and solutions throughout this crisis. They will take a few moments to share their perspectives on how libraries have responded and how we might continue to collaborate effectively in the future. And first, I would like to introduce Terry Kirshner. Terry, I'm going to put you in the spotlight.
Big
Terry
spotlight.
Kirshner joined the Westchester Library System as Executive Director in January 2009. In this role, he works with the 38-member public libraries to encourage and promote learning at all ages. His experience in various management positions at public and academic libraries spans over 25 years. Please welcome Terry Kirshner.
Thank you. So first, just really want to sort of have us all step back and really think about how far we've come. If we think about March and sort of that period of we don't know what's going on to where we are now, where we have plans of action and we're moving forward. That happens because we had good structure in place. And I think the one thing we as librarians definitely have is structure. And I think our challenge is how do we use that framework, that structure that we have for good? How do we take that structure and transform it into action? And we have. Think about virtual reference, virtual programming. Something that we had always talked about became something that became our new norm. So I'm pretty excited when we think about a lot of the foundation that we've laid. For years, we've talked about the Harwood Institute. How do we sort of take community aspirations and turn them into action? You know what we did in March? We turned them into action. We became part of that Harwood model. We figured out how to engage with the community with whatever resources we had available. The census is another great example. When you think about public libraries, you don't necessarily think about the census or why is the census that important. But really the census is about helping a community find its voice. That is part of what libraries, public libraries in particular, do. We help people discover their voice and then how to express their voice through information, through the programs that we run, through the reader's advisory that we do. And quite honestly, many libraries went old school. They picked up the telephone and started to call people in their community. That's what librarians do, and we did it amazingly well. So one of the things I'm hoping that we all get out of this situation is a reminder that, we have an important role in the community. It's easy for us to feel like we perhaps don't have a voice, but we are the voice of the community, and we should really own that and express that. And I will say, the fact that we can do so, considering the structures we have in place actually work against us, is amazing. Think about it. Most of us are dependent on outside agencies for funding. We feel that we have to cater to what that outside agency wants, but in reality, we really cater to the community that we serve. So how do we sort of balance that? That need for funding, but yet that desire to really serve all those who perhaps don't have a voice. That has been a perpetual struggle. I will say at the county and state level, we have wonderful representatives who understand that challenge and really support us in that. So we are incredibly fortunate, but we should never take it for advantage. And I think the more that we do what we do so well, which is, find a way to stay mission focused, to provide access to information, educational resources, focus on privacy, and help people find their voice. I think we have a really bright future. It's really up to us to do it. So, thank you.
Elaine, you're muted.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Terry. We're so appreciative of all that you do and all of your staff have done for all of our libraries. Just thank you. And I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say that. So Nate is going to, I just wanted to introduce Nate Hill, who is the Executive Director at Metro. And I want to thank him. Everybody has really been in touch throughout this crisis, all the library leaders. So we're going to hear, he has a slide presentation that he wants to share with us. So Nate, you have, let me just,
Let me try and share my screen here and see if we can get this going.
okay.
Does that look right to y'all?
Yeah,
Oh, great. So good morning. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk to all of you. I'm Nate Hill, the Executive Director at the Metropolitan New York Library Council. We, of course, are your regional council, helping tie together things between the academic libraries, the public libraries, the archives, and many other organizations. We serve New York City and Westchester County, but our work frequently bridges statewide and on beyond nationally and internationally. I just wanted to take a second and point to a couple of things that are going on right now that I think are particularly of use to this audience and to all of the other people that you work with. Like Terry was saying, we've really quickly pivoted and changed our approach to some of the services and the work that we're up to. So I want to point you all, let's see, how do I advance my slides? 1 second. Bear with me. Interesting. There we go. I want to start to point you to some of the excellent online events we've been having. We have never had attendance for these things like we do now. Hundreds and hundreds of people showing up. This is free. This is a great way to connect with your colleagues and to keep on learning during this time. You can see that we just have solid programming booked for the coming weeks. Honestly, we're booked for the next 2 to 3 months with events that are useful to you and to everybody who works with you. So please do check these out. Again, that's metro.org/events. The other thing I really want to point you all to is something I've turned a lot of my attention toward. In fact, I'm going to end up jumping off of this call because I have meetings all morning related to this project, the Realm project. This is an effort, a cooperative effort between OCLC, the IMLS, and the Battelle National Laboratory, identifying all of the gaps in the science that is currently available related to how the virus attenuates and essentially lives on the different surfaces in libraries and museums. This is a really important project to help inform reopening plans as they happen at a different pace all across the country. So the update that I can give you right now is that you're going to see the first literature review early next week from this project, and it'll be available at the URL below. This is a review that Battelle has done to look at all of the existing science, some of which is not peer reviewed yet, and that's an interesting issue that we're facing in this time, and bring together that which exists and is useful so that the actual laboratory testing, where they're taking little slices of books and other materials and testing them, so that it doesn't duplicate any other efforts. So I strongly encourage you all to track this. And I'll just also add that I believe it's Tuesday of next week, there is another webinar that the Rochester Regional Library Council has put together that will be talking about reopening plans, including representatives from NYLA and our state librarian, and I'll get to speak a little bit more about this then. I also want to point to a project that's been ongoing at Metro. We have spent the last 1.5 years working on a new open source digital collections software that is useful in a really, really wide variety of different kinds of use cases. Of course, as everybody's gone remote and we've been at home, this is one of the things that we've continued to work on just the same as we always were. We're currently working on supporting a number of projects across the state using this software. I think the one that is most important to point to right now is that we're in the early stages of helping the folks at the manuscript collection at the New York State Library with their COVID-19 documentation project. They have been, they've put out a call across the state for people to create media and journal entries. And so we'll be working with them to build a system to make all of that widely accessible and preserved for the long term. And from there, I don't want to take up a lot of everybody's time. I just want to say thanks and point to a couple of URLs and say that we're, during this very difficult time, we're just happy to connect with all of you and work together. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nate. And again, we appreciate all of your efforts. And we will be sharing these slides on our website after the program. Try to get those up sometime today, or at least by Monday.
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out with questions about any of those things, don't hesitate to.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so next I want to invite Karen LaRocca-Fells. I'm just going to put a spotlight on Karen. Hi, Karen. Let me just say a little bit about you first. Karen is the director of the Ossining Public Library and the president of the Public Library Directors Association of WLS. Prior to working at OPL, Karen was the director of the Cornwall Public Library in Orange County, the assistant director at the Finkelstein Memorial Library in Spring Valley, and the director of Kent Public Library in Putnam County. And she currently lives with her family in Ossining, and these days enjoys jogging in her basement. I liked that image. Okay, we're all doing the best we can. I'm sure you're in better shape than me. I would have not been doing that. So a warm welcome to Karen LaRocca-Fells.
Thank you, Elaine. The pandemic has really shed so much light on the weaknesses of the governance of public libraries, but also the strength that we all have as public library leaders and workers. When the pandemic first started, everything was so strange and it was happening so quickly. And I know that I kept thinking to myself, and several of my colleague directors did too, well, when is the state going to come down and tell public libraries what we should be doing? And it just wasn't happening. We were getting no real information particular to public libraries, and we were sort of left to figure it out for ourselves. But the good thing is we learned very quickly, all of us, that our colleagues were an enormous resource for us. So the Library Directors Association, we were on email, the email list back and forth throughout the whole thing. Our staff within our building were an enormous were an enormous source of information and resiliency. And then one thing that I found very interesting and very helpful was in Ossining, we have a very close community, and I have a good relationship with all of our local officials and community leaders, etc. But during this pandemic, we all came together as a source of support for each other and information for each other. And that has been one of the key things that has helped me as a library director sort of pull my library through this crisis. We have weekly team meetings with our local leaders, and they're great. That's where we find all of the good information. I kind of feel like this pandemic is both a blessing and a curse. I mean, the curse part we all know about. That's what we live through every day. But what it has done for me is to show us where we are really strong and where we are really adaptable. In my library, we've been talking for quite a while about providing digital programs. And it's like, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to do that in the future when we have time to figure that out. Well, we had to figure it out really, really fast. And my staff, at least at the Ossining Public Library, and I know that all of the staffs in the Westchester libraries have been amazing at producing digital programming. They learned it really quickly. There were bumps along the way, but now we're doing it and it's great. And we're reaching more people than we ever did really with our in-person programming. That's not to say that our in-person programming isn't necessary, but this is something that we never, I don't know that we ever would have gotten to it, frankly. And now we're doing it, and we intend to carry that forward. Another thing that was solidified for me is the vast knowledge and good sense of my professional colleagues. The PLDA is now having a weekly meeting, so all of the public library directors in Westchester County meet together weekly on Zoom. We really don't have an agenda. We just share and we learn from each other, and that has been really great. The pandemic has also shown me the strength and the resiliency and the creativity and just the sheer amazingness of the staff that I have in my library. I always kind of knew that, but they really rose to the occasion. And I'll share this with you. I got sick. I had COVID, and it was in the early part of this whole thing, March 20th, something like that. And of course, being the hands-on library director that I was, I felt like I had to, struggle through it and push through. And at one point I was pretty sick, but my department heads and I would meet. We were meeting every day for a while, and then we started meeting 3 times a week. They just, basically they just carried the library through, and frankly are still carrying the library through it all. They take charge. They make sure that their staff in their departments are informed about everything that's going on in my library. And, it showed me that we have the strength within our organizations to deal with these things. We have the strength, we have the intelligence, we have the resiliency, and we have the compassion for each other. And so, like I said, it's been a blessing, it's been a curse, but also a blessing. And that's what I'm taking away from this whole thing.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. Really appreciate it. And I'm so glad that you're well and that you came through okay.
Me too.
And so now we're going to hear from Maureen Clements. Maureen, let me just spotlight you, and then I will give your introduction. You can unmute yourself. Maureen Clements is the Collection Services Librarian for Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York, where she manages matters related to information access, electronic services, acquisitions, systems, and technology. Maureen currently serves as the board president for WLA, the Westchester Academic Library Directors Organization, a local library consortia that focuses on procuring electronic resources. And I first want to say, Maureen, thank you. We didn't have a WLA representation on our board for a while, and thank you for getting that going again. It's so great to have your input.
It is. It's great. I'm so glad to be part of the community. Elaine, thank you so much to you and the Westchester Library Association for inviting me to speak today. It's a real pleasure to be at today's virtual event, So a little bit more about the Waldo Consortium. It was formed in the early 80s, mainly by the local private colleges in Westchester as a way for the schools to pool their money together to purchase electronic resources and to get better negotiated prices from vendors. So over the years, Waldo has grown into a multi-million-dollar organization. We have contracts with more than 50 information service providers, and we negotiate contracts for hundreds of schools throughout the tri-state and Northeast areas. Another thing that Waldo does is that it also brings together local academic library community to share ideas and collaborate on projects. For the past several years, I've been chairing the Collection Services Group, which is a group of people who sort of run the back-end systems of libraries. And we come together to discuss relevant library issues that are related to collections. Now, normally we meet 6 times a year, but since this pandemic happened, we have Zoom and our community's grown much stronger. We've met 6 times since March, and it's been wonderful. It's been fostering a huge sense of community. It allows us to share some of our frustrations, share ideas, discuss opinions and options for what's going to come next. Some other things that have happened just recently is that Waldo, we just hosted our 5th annual library symposium. The theme of this year's event was resource sharing, and this is something that librarians have traditionally been really, really good at across all of the various libraries. Now, normally we hold this event in person, and we hold it at Fordham University, and we usually get about 75 to 100 attendees. But the pandemic did afford us the opportunity to have this virtual symposium for less money and a greater reach, and we ended up having over 300 registrants. Now that's a 4-fold increase in the amount of librarians who are able to participate in our materials. And it's just like Nate said, actually Nate was part of our symposium, and he gave a discussion on Archipelago about resource sharing for institutional repositories and archives. So really and this is happening all over the library world. ACRL, which is the Association of College and Research Libraries, Consortia, the ICOLC. The pandemic is really affording libraries the opportunity for much greater professional development and collaboration in a way that I don't think we've ever really truly seen before, or have an idea of how effective and this is going to be for our communities, transformative. And one of the things that I saw on Tuesday during our resource sharing symposium is that the library consortial groups, the communities are starting to come together and advocate for libraries and building better tools. And these tools were going to allow us to access and share information for our patrons in a much more efficient and effective way, a much easier way for our patrons to understand. And so what I see happening is that libraries are advocating for better interoperability of data platforms. They're using open source technologies more, and they're relying less on proprietary systems. We've had open source in the past, but this is throwing everything into hyperdrive, right? It really is. And the same thing with interlibrary loan. When the pandemic first started, everybody was worried, what's going to happen in interlibrary loan? But really what we're starting to see now is a much greater push towards interlibrary loan of digital objects, interlibrary loan of ebooks. They call that controlled digital lending. So and this is what we've seen with the Internet Archive's National Emergency Library. I think that we're going to start seeing huge changes in resource sharing on a much grander scale, copyright changes that enable us to share materials in a way that's going to be better for our community. Right now we're very hamstrung by what's going on, 75 years or something like that. I think it's 70 years. I don't know the exact amount, but it's right now it's actually really restrictive for us to be able to share information when our materials are electronic. Some other things that I see that are happening is that the scholarly publishing community and the field of scholarly publishing, which rakes in massive profit amounts, I see libraries pushing back. I see libraries looking for more equitable pricing, for more modular information, less big deal. We see across the spectrum of the academic library community canceling their big, gigantic deals with publishers and going for a much more modular and a much more price points that libraries can actually afford. Libraries can't afford $500,000 in databases, but libraries might be able to afford, $5,000 in the articles. So, and these are so many changes that I think we can't even possibly anticipate that's going to be happening. So, in conclusion, I just want to say that I think this pandemic has really thrown out our concrete perceptions of how libraries operate. And it's thrown it right out the window. It's sitting in the bottom of the Hudson River, which I happen to be looking out my window. There it is. But I think amidst all this chaos, what we're really seeing emerge is a much stronger sense of community, a much stronger sense of collaboration. And that's buoyed by our electronic communications and these new abilities and tools. And it's fully nourished by necessity, which is the mother of all invention. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maureen. Thank you for joining us today again. We really appreciate everybody's time. Okay, so I'm going to just share my screen momentarily okay. Here we go. So next we're going to hear from our legislators, and Kathy Polovic is going to be introducing them. Kathy?
Hi, good morning, everybody. My name is Kathy Plovic. I am the chair of the Legislative Committee for WLA. Actually, I am back at work right now. That's why the mask is kind of going on and off. Anyway, so I sent out the invite for our in-person conference, and I was so pleased that I had so many responses this year. And then when the pandemic hit and we had to cancel it, it was kind of a gut punch. I remember sitting and writing the email to everybody that we had to cancel the conference, and that was rough. I remember starting to cry writing that. But I was so happy that we decided to do it in person over Zoom, and we could still have interaction with each other this way. So first person that I have to speak this morning is the state assemblyman for District 93. That covers White Plains, Bedford, Harrison, Lewisboro, Mount Kisco, Newcastle, North Castle, North Salem, Pound Ridge, Armonk, Bedford Hills, Chappaqua, Goldensbridge, Katona, Peach Lake, and Scotts Corners. And that is Assemblyman David Buchwald. So I will take you off mute. I can, there you go. Oh, you're off mute. Okay, good to go.
We can't hear you, David. Can't hear you.
Sorry, thank you.
Okay, there you go. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties, but obviously pleased to see you all, though I wish we were in person. Your annual meetings are always good occasions, and I'm proud to be part of just a broader state and county delegation that is proud to be very supportive of our libraries. Some of you probably heard me say before that my first volunteer job as an elementary school student was in my local public library. I grew up in Larchmont, so at the Larchmont Public Library, but now a resident of White Plains, and proud that my little daughters, who are now ages 5 and 3, get books from the White Plains Public Library, which is a real gem in our system. And in the state assembly, I represent a fantastic set of libraries, and I'm so pleased that New York State, through the Library Construction Fund and otherwise, has been supportive of all your efforts. And I know we even had an issue recently with whether libraries would be able to fulfill those construction projects in time. And thankfully, we've been working on getting extensions for any of you who need it. Some of you might know I'm applying for a new job. It's not necessarily the same as the volunteer job in a library, reshelving books. And I was fascinated by the Dewey Decimal System back in the day, but rest assured, in whatever capacity, anything I can do to be supportive of local libraries is something I'm proud to be a part of. So I wish you all the best. Be well, stay safe, and thank you for the work you do every day.
Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your comments. We really appreciate it.
Good. Okay. So, all right. So next from District 88 from the State Assembly, and that is Scarsdale, Eastchester, Tuckahoe, Bronxville, Pelham Manor, and parts of New Rochelle and White Plains. State Assembly member Amy Paulin.
Okay, just 1 minute. Let me just get to Amy.
Okay.
Hi, Amy. Thank you for
Hey.
joining us today. Good to see
How are you? Good, good. I'm so glad to participate. It's a new world, as we've all described in the last hour, half an hour, whatever. You know, libraries are so critical, and as you have pointed out with all the programming and all that you have been doing, so much so in a time of crisis. So we are so appreciative of your adapting, your hard work. We've been very pleased to be your advocate. You know, on our, we call them our 5:30 calls, but our calls with the governor's staff, you know, we have been able to raise a lot of the issues that you've presented to us. Having been a former library chair, along with Sandy Galiff was one, and so was Tom Abenanti. You know, we have an understanding of the mechanisms and the administrations and the differences among you. And, you know, when association libraries were left out, we were aware. So we've been trying to be as helpful as we can. And, you know, clearly whatever you need, you know, going forward as we open up even more, you know, we will be there for you as well. So, you know, the one thing I do want to point out is one of library staff pointed out to us, because we had stopped doing our weekly updates. You know, we would do updates to our community to tell them about the events. And they said, well, libraries are doing all these virtual events. You could do that. And honestly, it has been a tremendous success. Every week, we just sent one out today. We send out all the virtual events, many, I'm going to say many, because now there's many others, but many of which are from the library programming. And people were looking for things to keep them busy and to keep their minds working. And you really provided that. So just so grateful to everything. And just also to let you know, you're one of, I should say, there's no group, there's no, including municipalities, healthcare workers, everyone, that, you know, the state was overwhelmed with guidance that they had to put out for various groups. And only now are we first catching up, you know, where the items that we present on our 5:30 call are fewer. The amount of, it was just so new. Everything was new, and everything was, is still new. Opening up is new. God forbid, closing up again will be new. So it's a tough time. And we are your, you know, we're on the ground. We hear from the people, and we want to be hearing from you on a constant basis. So thank you for everything you do. Thank you for all the information you provide. And we're there for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. We really appreciate everything you're doing too.
Okay, and next I have from the State Assembly from the 91st District, which is Rye Brook, Portchester, Rye, Mamaroneck, Larchmont, and Southern New Rochelle, State Assemblyman Steve Otis.
Okay, let me put you on spotlight, Steve. Hi, how are you?
Hi all. It's good to be with you. Rather be with you in person as we usually do. But let's talk about some library unfinished business that we have before us. One of the matters is we were able to restore most of the operating aid in the state budget this year, but we have not gone back to capital yet. With all the pandemic-related fiscal crisis, we never really did a full capital budget. But I think on the agenda of everyone in the Westchester delegation is to try and get back the 20 million that we are down for the library capital construction grant program, which is just so important, especially to Westchester libraries. Another piece of unfinished business that you are inextricably involved with the census effort, and yet with your being closed during the pandemic, a real opportunity for people to participate in the census by using your computers at your libraries has been put on hold. The deadline for the census has been extended until October. So I think that the role that you were going to play, you're still going to be an important part of playing that role when you're fully open, and when the whole census outreach effort is re-energized. But that's so important for not just library funding, but all sorts of other kind of funding, that we could get a good census amount. Amy touched upon the issue that we all worked very hard on, which was to make sure that association libraries were not excluded from the opening, which was maybe some of the original language looked that way. And I think we've taken a stab at resolving that, and it's an ongoing discussion, but we were all very attentive to that. It's very important. I'm on the library committee, have been on that committee since joining the assembly. You're all very important to all the communities that we all represent, and I'm here to help, and here to you know, fight for the causes that come up. But thank you for the great work you do. People are dying to get back to the libraries, and so now that door is open, and you're going to be busier in a socially distant way. So thank you for the opportunity. It's always nice to be with you at your meetings and to be nice to be with you in this format.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Yes, everybody's opening at a different level, but we're moving towards that. We can't wait to see the public too, as long as we're all safe, right? Thank you so much. Kathy?
Okay, and now we have one of our county legislators. She is the majority leader. She represents the 12th district in Westchester County, and that's Dobbs Ferry, Ardsley, Edgemont, Hartsdale, Hastings-on-Hudson, and Irvington. County Legislator Mary Jane Shimsky.
Hi, Mary Jane. I'm putting you on spotlight.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Good morning, everyone. And first of all, I would like to thank all of you for the outstanding work you've been doing during the pandemic. When we at the County Board of Legislators send out regular e-blasts, sending out information, at the beginning of the pandemic, it was all bad news, right? And we were desperate to find something that would give people a chance to enjoy themselves at home, a chance for enrichment, a chance to help them from a mental health perspective by keeping their minds occupied and keeping them as part of a community that they can no longer visit physically. And all of the events that have been going on, or the virtual events at our local, have been absolutely tremendous. Many of us at the board send out some or all of the e-blasts that you send around promoting the events. And the reaction from my constituents has been extremely positive. And I just want to thank you for doing so much to help make people's lives better during a very difficult time. It seems to be the year of bad news, right? Our community is roiled with all kinds of problems regarding race relations. And libraries are such an important part of building knowledge and understanding among people. If you can get people into libraries, odds are you are not going to have to wait till they behave badly in public before they learn something about issues of diversity and understanding and tolerance of others. And once again, you are among our most valuable troops on the front line of that battle, and we salute you for everything you do. And that, of course, is in addition to everything you were doing before the world started falling apart this year. I don't have to go through the long laundry list of all the educational services, the social services, and all the other services that you provide formally or informally in your libraries. But when you're talking about government expenditures, and this is critical because it's usually the libraries that a lot of people go to cut first because they're frills. In terms of everything from mental health services to crime prevention to employment services to educational enrichment, we probably get more bang for our buck from our libraries than just about any other department or agency in our governments. And again, it's all because you do what you do, and we thank you for that. In terms of action items, there is one thing I do want to bring up. We're having a widely contested primary on June 23rd. Assemblyman Buchwald was alluding to that before. There's a big backlog of absentee ballot applications at the Board of Elections that they're doing their best to process. But there are a lot of them there, and the number of polling places on election day are going to be greatly reduced, just as they have been in other states whose primaries we've seen go on with varying levels of crisis. Some of my librarians have already talked to me about perhaps being willing to send out information about early voting. So that way we can flatten the curve of in-person voting attendance and we can avoid some long lines on election day. If any of you think that would be appropriate or any of you would be interested, I will be more than happy to pass on flyers promoting early voting, and you could send them to your list. The last thing I want to talk about is, especially now since we are not in our normal library location, even on Zoom, libraries are still joining together of location, information, and people. I still remember fondly, I grew up in Scranton, Pennsylvania. The main branch of the Scranton Public Library was right across from my high school. And I thought that building was a wonder. And I realized much later in life that it impressed me that whoever decided to build that place thought that knowledge and education were very important, and that it was very important to send it out to the whole community. When I was in graduate school in New York City, I used to spend a lot of time in the main New York Public Library building on 42nd and 5th, which of course is an incredible wonder. But one of the vignettes I remember most is a lot of days when I went in there pretty steadily through the years. There was a homeless man who sat at the same seat at the same table every day. And he would have stacks of archive boxes. And one day I walked by and I saw he was reading every back issue of the American Mercury, which was one of the leading magazines in the early 20th century in this country. And I remembered that man again when I saw the documentary on PBS. I'm sure many of you saw it, about the building of that public library. And I'm not a crier. It's not the way I deal with life, but I was nearly moved to tears because the thought of building something so big and so wonderful, so everyone, no matter how important in the social strata, all the way down to a homeless man, could have absolute, unquestioned access to the knowledge of the ages, is really a sacred and a holy thing. I think our libraries are probably, they definitely are on the short list of the greatest institutions ever devised by humankind. And you are the people who keep them running, and you're doing a great job here in Westchester. And I thank you for that. And you know where to find me, westchesterlegislators.com. If you ever have any questions or you need assistance, we're there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those kind words. I'm glad you could join us today. Kathy, was Shelley able to join us?
I didn't see her in the...
Okay, so something may have, I didn't see her either, so, but I know that she may pop in, but we thank everybody for all of their dedication and on behalf of libraries. And
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to come and speak to us this morning. We appreciated having you, and we hope to see you next year at a conference in person.
Yes, yes. And Kathy, thank you for all of what you did this year to advise everybody of what we're doing. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen again. Okay. And now I am going to share my president's report. And I've decided, I know you've done a lot of listening, so I thought we'd just do a little bit of a little visual synopsis of what we did this year. First, I want to particularly thank the amazing WLA Board of Directors for all the tremendous efforts this year. Every single person, everything that we do, you just don't realize. I didn't realize when I would attend these events how much work goes into them. Everybody's working behind the scenes to do things, you know, from Dan Glauber putting things on the website, Krista O'Sullivan getting those nice blasts out and making them look nice. And we have our youth services, Catherine and Oz, tying those all together, Z with YA Book Buzz, and with the Mock Awards, and then everybody else, all the chairs and the committees, and of course Giovanna. I want to thank her for her partnership this year. We thought we were going this way, like all of you, and we went that way, and it's been good, and a lot of more great things to come. So, and also to our secretary, Allison Robbins, and past president, Diana Lennon. We all worked very diligently as a team this year. So, but let me just move on to my little digital visual. So little did we know, this is from, we had a program on mindfulness in the fall, Young Me Park, and this is a quote she used from Klaus Schwab. The changes are so profound that from the perspective of human history, there has never been a time of greater promise or potential peril. So looking back on that, I said, well, got to use that slide. And these are some of the things that we did this year. And everybody got to enjoy. We also chose to spotlight some libraries. You saw this in the newsletter, and we were continuing to do so until COVID came, and we will pick that up again as soon as possible, even maybe just virtually, digitally, we could do that as well. This is us meeting at Greenberg. And our midwinter conference, Library Careers, Growth, Transition, Future, with our wonderful presenters, Suzanne Margaret and Linda Miles. Breakout groups. Anthony Rita and Myra Cabrera, our academic chairs. Some of our great members and leaders. Claudia Depkin, Civil Service One-on-One. And we have a second part coming up with local, with input from Westchester HR, but we'll have to see once COVID, we figure that out. And we'll be getting input from you for that. Some more of our group. Here's some brainstorming. And we started Meet and Mingles this year. This was a new idea that came out. And it's really been wonderful. Harrison has hosted a few of these, and we're very appreciative of their generosity. Some of our attendees, my colleagues, Donna, Lena, Renee, and the Mock Awards, another important event. If you haven't been to the Mock Awards, once we're back to normal, however Z's going to do it, please participate. It's really an awesome event. And then this is what we worked very hard to put together. And we will be doing parts of this as separate programming. It will be upcoming, so stay tuned. So we went from this, to this, to this, to this, and this. But just remember, if you want to conquer the anxiety of life, live in the moment, live in the breath. And that is also from Young Me Park's program from Amit Ray. Okay, so what I wanted to share now are, I want to congratulate our 2021 executive board members, President Giovanna Fiorino Ainacci, Vice President, President-elect Kim Stucco, Treasurer Allison Robbins, and Secretary Joanna Rooney. Again, because of the pandemic, we had to use e-voting. It was the first time that we did that. And we had a third of our members response, which was better than usual because usually it's in person and people have to remember to put it in the box. So I think that will even get better over time. So thank you so much for those of you who did vote, and congratulations to the new executive board. I wanted to let you know that we have some new committee chairs. Megan Fenton is in the house, and I want to thank Megan because she has decided to step back in as co-chair for Professional Development Committee. She did an awesome job, and Kim did an awesome job this year. Kim Stucco with Amelia Bucarelli, but Kim is stepping up to vice president, and Amelia has to step down. So we are also looking for another co-chair for professional development. So please speak to me, speak to one of us. You can email us if you have an interest with that. And we also need a youth services co-chair, Catherine Rydell, who has done an amazing job the past few years with us, Kota Chang. Catherine needs to step down. So if you're interested in maybe being a co-chair for Youth Services Committee, please let us know about that as well. And there are other ways to serve on the board or on committees too. So again, any interest, please let me know. Our membership report, I want to give special thanks to Kathy Burney. Kathy, you can unmute. I'm just leaving this screen up, but Kathy, I just want to say thank you. Give a shout out. Kathy has just been working, so hard to keep it. She reorganized it and is keeping it in great shape. Are you there, Kathy?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Kudos to you, Kathy. I'm giving you a big round of applause. So we had 186. We have 186 members. 13 organizational institutions have enrolled for organizational membership, but there are 20 actual enrollments because several of our libraries have done multiple enrollments, which is amazing. So they've done 2 or 3 enrollments. An enrollment for an organization is 5 people. And so some of our larger libraries have invested in memberships for 10 or 15 people. And we're so appreciative. We're so grateful that you're supporting your staff in that manner. And thank you so much. And thank you to our past presidents who initiated this, this organizational membership. And again, thank you, Kathy.
Oh, you're welcome.
For all you do. Okay, so I also want to remind everybody, we sent this out in a blast. We have a bylaw addendum vote that will be coming out by the end of June because the COVID crisis has highlighted a need to add an emergency clause to our bylaws. The Board of Directors is proposing the following addendum to bylaw number 20. A meeting of the association shall be held annually. If special circumstances arise where the annual conference cannot take place in a physical location, a virtual meeting will be held in its place if possible. So we are doing that. We want to make sure that we add it to the bylaws as well. Okay, so now I am going to share the, just give me a moment, I have to share a different screen. And Sharon is going to give us the treasurer's report. So just one moment. Okay, can everybody see my screen? I just wanted to, first of all, Sharon, please unmute. I want to thank Sharon for all the work that she does. Being the treasurer is not, it's got a lot involved with it. She has to coordinate a lot of things. And not only that, but Sharon has been the treasurer for 5 years. So we want to especially thank her. She is stepping down, and Allison will be the new treasurer. We want to thank her for all of her due diligence and her hard work over the years. And Sharon, on behalf of the board, I did send you a little gift card in your email. Hopefully you got it as a token of our appreciation for all that you've done for us. So Sharon, the floor is yours to share.
I'm going to make this very short and very sweet. The numbers that you see in front of you are accurate. The allocation between membership and conference are, I wouldn't say questionable. They need to be tweeted. I've been parsing things together from home using treasurer's reports and bank statements. I do not have access because of the lockdown to most of my financial records. So don't worry, because at the end of this, we are returning to the library. I am returning to my library on Monday. So at that point, I'll be able to access my records and anticipate getting a treasurer's report that goes from July 1, 2019 through and including June 30th, 2020. That should be everything. We still have some outstanding disbursements that we have to make. There are still some outstanding checks that have to be deposited. So those, hopefully, if not included in the actual cash reconciliation, will be noted on the bottom as to reflect the fact that their money is either anticipated or money coming in, or money is anticipated going out. And that being said, it's been a wonderful time. I think I've done practically every job with Westchester Library Association. I've been professional development chair and conference chair and incoming president. And so this is the end of a long reign, and I'm making room for new faces and new strategies, and what better timing, because this is the year of the new. So I just want to welcome Allison to my role, and if she does need any help, assistance, or translation of what we've been doing in the past, I'm here for you, Allison. Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you so much, Sharon. Really, we really appreciate it. Okay, I'm just going to share my screen again. Jump back, thank you. And move just ahead. And so next we have the Professional Development Awards from Kim Stucco. Kim.
Hey. Hello there.
Thank you so much. I first want to again say thank you for all the work that you and Amelia did this year in this environment to keep us all going.
You're very welcome. Thank you, Elaine. I'm Kim Stucco, the Professional Development Co-Chair. We found that this committee works best with two people. So if there's anybody out there who's interested in joining Megan in co-chairing next year, please let either myself, Giovanna, or Elaine know. The current Professional Development Committee, after careful consideration and reviewing all of the applications, has decided to give 3 awards this year. Our 3 award winners are Jonathan Heffitz, Samantha Marson, and Tracy Wong. Do we have, I know Jonathan's on the line, but.
Yeah, let me just I've stopped sharing, haven't I? Have I stopped?
Samantha's there too.
Okay, does anybody want to be seen on the screen? Let me just spotlight you. There's Samantha. Hi, Samantha, say hi.
Okay, Samantha will be working we'll be helping her working towards training to become a credentialed teacher of baby wearing dance classes for Gruvararo baby wearing. So there's her inspiration.
Congratulations.
Just wave hi. Hello.
Very nice.
And I thought I saw Jonathan on also.
Okay, let me find Jonathan. There he is.
Jonathan,
I'm here. You grew a beard.
Hey, Jonathan.
Hold on a second. Let me put you on spotlight. Congrats.
Jonathan will be continuing his studies to obtain a 2nd degree in disability studies at the City University of New York School of Professional Studies. He's a children's librarian at the Eastchester Public Library. Would you like to say something, or?
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate this.
Congratulations. Yay. That's great. Okay.
And I didn't see Tracy. Is she? I didn't see her name.
Okay. So maybe Tracy wasn't able to make it today. But we want to again congratulate everybody. And I also wanted to thank Kim through Special Library Association. We were given funding to give a third award. Normally we can give up to 2. But through their generosity, we were able to offer a third award this year. We did have 4 applicants, and you know, we appreciate everybody who applies, but we did have to, the decision had to come down to 3 out of 4. So thank you and congratulations. And Kim, I'll hand it back to you now. Did you have anything else that you needed to say?
On that, just to let you know that Tracy will be attending the ALA Winter Conference scheduled for January of 2021 in Indiana, and she works in the Yonkers Public Library System. Do you want me to move on to new business, or you want to?
Yes, let me just, I will just share that screen because I have the screen for that. So hold on one second. You know,
Now on to new business. Over the next several weeks, we're preparing for several Zoom presentations. On Thursday, June 18th, we will look forward to seeing everyone at our second Meet and Unwind. We've subtitled it Taking Your Temperature. On Thursday, June 25th at 4 p.m., Marie Riffle from WEBS will be giving a presentation about job search in challenging times. Now that we're in a virtual environment, how does one go about a job search? She will be providing us with a list of resources for our patrons. On Monday, July 6th at 2 p.m., Dr. Aku will be presenting a self-care workshop. That's the flyer you see in front of her. And shortly after that, on a date to be determined, Dr. Aku will be repeating her implicit bias workshop. With all that has happened around the country and the world, we thought it was time to revisit this timely topic. Watch your emails for flyers about all the mentioned presentations. And also just to note, if there are topics that you need to know about, please forward subjects to either myself or Megan. We'll try to find a presenter to talk on those issues. Thank you, and quote unquote, see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Kim. And I also wanted to remind everybody that Kim put together a resources list, and some of you have contributed things to add to that. Please do so. It was in the newsletter. It was in the last blast. It's on the website. You can find the links there. So thank you, Kim, for putting that together, curating that, and we will continue to do so. Any timely information as things change, that will need to be updated as well.
Yeah, and also to let you know, I'm going to see if I can stay in touch with, was it Nate, who was part of Metro, to see what the next update is to the Realm project.
Yes,
I think that's going to be important.
That was great, and you had mentioned that was in your resources, so that was great. I was glad you touched on that. Thank you so much, Kim. Okay, and so we have our closing comments from President-elect Giovanna Fiorino Iannacci. I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to put the spotlight. I have to find her. There she is. Spotlight on Giovanna, or Jane, as I call her. Hey, Giovanna, thank you. You're muted.
I'm unmuted now. Hello, and thank you for joining our first virtual annual business meeting. It's been wonderful to hear from fellow library associations, from our legislators, and to gather on a virtual platform. Despite the need to remain apart, we are together. As everyone has mentioned, this year has been full of surprises that we could never have imagined happening. It's been heartening to witness the tireless efforts made by libraries everywhere to keep engaging the community, students, and researchers alike. One of the silver linings of online programming is that we have expanded our audiences. As many of our libraries prepare to reopen their doors, we are again transitioning to a new way of providing access to information, programming, and both online and on-site services. We will be back, stronger and hopefully wiser. We look forward to exploring new horizons and continuing to effectively navigate these challenging times while maintaining the progress we have made. We invite you to join us and help us build our leadership base in order to ensure a resilient future for the Westchester Library Association. Please reach out to any of our board members if you are interested in becoming more active with WLA. We look forward to seeing you again at our Meet and Unwind, which someone had mentioned or asked about the date. That's on Thursday, June 18th at 6 p.m. It's informal, it's fun, and we all get to listen to one another. And the professional development workshops that were mentioned with webs on how to assist job seekers, that's on Thursday, June 25th at 4 p.m. And then we have 2 programs planned for July. So we have the special workshop with Dr. Ku on self-care, and that's on Monday, July 6th at 2 p.m. So it's the Monday after the 4th of July holiday. We'll be sending information, so don't worry if you don't have the dates written down. But in the meantime, please stay well and stay connected. Thank you so much. And that's it. The shortest annual business meeting on record.
Thank you, Jane, for all of your dedication. It's just so appreciative of all you do.
My pleasure.
I'm just going to share my screen momentarily before we adjourn. I want, again, to thank all of our sponsors today for supporting us. And please reach out to them and support their businesses as well. And now we're ready to adjourn. So I would like to adjourn our meeting at 10:43 a.m., the annual business meeting. And I wish you all well. And please keep in touch and reach out to us. And I hope to see you at some of our upcoming events over the summer. Thank you, and be in touch.